Welcome back to Midnight Oil, where we guide you through the mysteries of history and wild deep dives. I'm Keegan.
And I'm Tab, ready to blow your mind with one of the biggest fan theories out there, the Pixar Theory.
Tonight, we're tackling the idea that every Pixar movie is connected in one unified timeline. It's a story spanning centuries, from prehistoric times to a distant dystopian future.
Buckle up! This one's got everything talking animals, sentient machines, time travel, and even the apocalypse.
And here's something to chew on. Which Pixar movie is considered the start of this epic timeline? We'll get right into it. The theory starts with Brave. Set in a mystical version of medieval Scotland, this is where magic first enters the picture. Thanks to the witch who has the power to transform humans into animals, her experiments hint at the beginnings of sentience in animals and objects, as well as the discovery of a magical energy source that plays a huge role later in that timeline. So the witch isn't just dabbling in magic, she's using powers that suggest early experiments with sentience amongst animals and objects. If you think about it, transforming humans into animals, she's bridging the gap between species. This could be the foundation for what eventually evolves into the intelligence we see in animals, machines, and even objects later on in Pixar movies. Her powers go beyond typical fairy tale magic, too. They're the first step in creating a world where non human entities gain consciousness. And here's where it gets even more interesting, where the witch's powers might not be entirely magical. A lot of fans theorize that her ability to disappear through doors is actually an early form of the portal technology we see in Monsters Inc. So, could she be using the same energy source that fuels the monster world centuries later? It's really up in the air. So, it's a fascinating possibility that ties together the mystical and technological elements of the Pixar universe. If Brave is the starting point, then magic could be the foundation for everything that happens later. So, it's not just a plot device, it's the energy source that sparks the evolution of sentience in animals, machines, objects, and other things, therefore, of. From here, we can trace a direct line to the rising intelligence we see in the movies like Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, and beyond.
Hmm.
Also, what about The Good Dinosaur? Like, isn't that a Pixar movie?
I don't know. It's not
Uh,
tied into the Pixar Theory, at least, I don't think.
okay. The Good Dinosaur actually, it could also be a starting point. Here's my thing, right? Like, the reason the Pixar theory could exist is because the asteroid doesn't hit Earth. So, dinosaurs get to kind of roam all around. I don't know. I think some of the Pixar theory is under wraps for me still. I think there's some things that I'm missing.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm face value at the Pixar Theory right now. I don't know whether I believe it or not, but we'll see by the end of the episode.
I think you're gonna turn into a believer, to be honest. So I was talking about Brave, but ultimately, I think it starts with the Good Dinosaur, which it's the beginning of evolution. It takes place in an alternate prehistoric Earth where the asteroid misses the planet, with the evolution of intelligence beginning with dinosaurs like Arlo and humans like Spot. And then the relevance is the magic or energy from the earth, which is introduced later in Brave, can be influencing the accelerated evolution of the dinosaurs, hinting at the origins of sentience. So, I would consider this being the starting point for life gaining emotional depth and intelligence in the Pixar universe. But at this point, humans are very primitive, but beginning to evolve. Then you have, I'm just going to go through the rest of them. In order, you got Brave, Finding Nemo, and Ratatouille, maybe. If not that, then The Incredibles. Then you have Cars, Wall-E, Monsters Inc., Soul, which kind of exists outside the traditional timeline, at least from my understanding. And you can piece everything else in between there because
Yeah.
there's a lot. We're not going to be able to cover it all, unfortunately. But the Super Carlin brothers on YouTube have a great video up to date up until 2022. So if you want to check more of that out, that gets a little more in depth, and is significantly more curated than us two knuckleheads trying to figure it out. You can go there, but toss us into Monsters Inc. and you'll see why we go from Brave to Monsters Inc. It is a big time gap, but there's a reason.
So, yeah, you had mentioned that her use of magic, she could go through doors, and that could be potentially the foundation evolved into the technology in Monsters Inc. So Brave just laid the groundwork, and over centuries, that magic could have been studied, refined, and turned into science. But that's not all. There's a little like tidbit that I feel personally is kind of reaching, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. Boo from Monsters Inc. could actually be the witch in Brave, and it could potentially explain why she's obsessed with doors. So she's not just crafting magical portals, she's trying to recreate the door technology to find Sully again. And I feel like that's a bit of a reach, but you know, it be how it be.
The reason that they think that it could be Boo is because, and this was supposed to be my our fun fact, but it there's a carving of Sully in her little witch shack. So why would that be there? This is very much before that time, or at least in an alternate world. So she had some sort of encounter with either Sully or a being of which Sully is probably a derivative from. So that's kind of what started solidifying the Brave theory.
Word. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you may not be sold yet, but
Yeah, I'm still not sold.
but think about it. If if it could be Boo, because she likes playing jokes on people too. She's very playful.
That's why
It's
she's
just
called Boo.
yeah, yeah.
That leads me to the real question. Does this mean the magic in Brave is the root of all of the technological advancement in the Pixar universe? So that means, like, could it be that every single piece of tech, from the Omni droids to sentient cars, could that all be traced back to the ancient magical energy, even dating back to the Good Dinosaur, like you mentioned? Because that would be
Mm.
crazy. Because the magic just evolved into
Mm.
science.
No, you're right. I genuinely think, right, there's a lot of ways I think that you can interpret this entire theory, right? It's a big theory. Like you're talking about connecting multiple like timelines slash worlds slash cultures, and it's on a big time scale. But I do think that magic has something to do with it, and emotional intelligence, just solely because we in the Pixar timeline, they live in a world where an asteroid did not hit Earth, and we live in a timeline where evidently, according to some scientists, were hit by an asteroid that helped wipe out the dinosaurs. So I think it is giving us an insight on what that world could have looked like potentially. And I think, yeah, I think it definitely could have started with the idea that magic takes a much larger, like, precedent in this Pixar world and is what has really changed things from the Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Because it's actually so crazy, but I think that's where it would stem back from.
Mm-hmm. If I'm putting on my hat with you, I'll have to agree. But I'm still not quite sold yet. I'll be so real with you.
It's gonna be an hour and like 20 minutes of me trying to convince you. I really do. I believe this theory, by the way. I don't even need the tinfoil hat. I got like the tinfoil is already wrapped around my brain. All right, like I'm in on this.
The Pixar foil. That's so funny. So if we take it from Brave, showing that the magic turned her mother into a bear, let's dive into, I guess, the animal portion of this. So we're talking Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, and the evolution of the animal intelligence. So there's talking fish in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And there's gourmet cooking rats in Ratatouille. So obviously these animals are not your average critters. They're showing incredible levels of intelligence and autonomy. So if you think about Marlin and Dory in Finding Nemo, they navigate complex social systems, they communicate with other species, and even understand human behavior. So that's not just evolution. That's like full intelligence. And then we go to Ratatouille. So Remy takes it even further. So he's not just surviving, he's thriving in a human dominated world, learning to cook and manipulating a human to create incredible dishes. So it's like the magic has kickstarted a huge evolution in animals. So that
Yeah.
leads us into like the root cause has to be derived from some form of magical evolution because it's not just simply evolution alone.
Yeah, and while the animals are evolving, humans are also starting to push the boundaries of technology, right? Like that's where the Incredibles come in, where this movie is showing us a world where humans have developed incredible powers and created advanced AI, like Syndrome's Omnidroid, which we kind of talked about during our midweek episode. But here's the kicker on that is that this technology starts to outsmart its creators, and the Omni Droid is a direct predecessor of the sentient machines that we will later see in Cars and Wally. And it's the beginning of a major shift in the balance of power between humans and technology, which I'm not going to get super duper into the Incredibles just because it's probably the most similar thing that we have seen like in real life. Right? Like it's rapidly evolving AI, robotics, stuff like that, but they just have superpowers, right? You can just kind of toss that into like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Like that's just, it's like that's like our baseline present day essentially.
Yeah, no, that that checks out.
So, yeah, we're good there. But yeah, so run us through like because you're talking about all of these different animals and objects and stuff, they're becoming sentient. They're becoming their own, I'll say, people. Essentially, they have complex emotions, and they're able to do human like things, which kind of starts the downfall of human dominance. So why don't you walk us through like how that's like happening?
So here's where Pixar does take kind of a darker turn. The tech starts to outpace its creators, and that's where Cars comes in. So it's a world basically where humans are completely gone and machines have taken over. So there's sentient vehicles running the show, living in cities, working jobs, building their own societies. But how did we get here? You know? So the theory suggests that as humans became more reliant on technology, they lost control, and the machines got smarter, more independent, and eventually took over the roles humans once filled. So it's not hard to imagine a gradual shift. Automated systems, self driving cars, and AI eventually replacing human labor, even social interaction. But it's not like Cars is some post apocalyptic wasteland. It's actually vibrant and alive, but it's completely devoid of humanity, which is like funky.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like I never like thought about it, but I guess there's just no humans in Cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more I think about it, I'm like, whoa, Toy Story had people in it. So what's going on with Cars? Thus began the tinfoil hat that is the Pixar theory, at least for me. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, where them people at?
Mm-hmm. And this is where it kind of ties into The Incredibles, right? So The Incredibles is when we see Syndrome's Omnidroid, like you had mentioned. And we haven't quite hit Wally yet, but we'll get there. But that also ties into this as well. So we're seeing machines handling almost every aspect of human life already. And the leap to cars doesn't necessarily seem that far fetched.
As far as like you mean like the sentience?
The sentience of cars, like them having their own jobs, living in cities, doing sports, fuck, having their own fucking like history. Cause doesn't that one guy? He's like, yeah, I was a race car back in my day. Like, dude,
Yeah.
what? Humans
Yeah.
must have been gone for a while now.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, it gets like this is where things started coming together for me, which is also very coincidental because this is one of my favorite movies. And I'm sure everyone already knows where this is going because I would not shut up about it. Wally, one of Pixar's most haunting but hopeful films, which is set in the distant future where humanity was abandoned or has abandoned Earth, leaving it buried under mountains of trash. And it's a very sobering version of what happens when human consumption and reliance on technology spirals out of control. But amidst this dystopia, we got little Wally, the little resilient robot with an unshakable sense of purpose. So I'm going to break that down. You have the fall of humanity, where when Wally begins, humanity itself, as far as we know, there may be like people on the planet still, but for the most part, it seems like humanity has been living aboard the spaceship Axiom for about 700 years. And Earth has become so polluted that it's completely uninhabitable. The corporation, by and large, which is referenced in Toy Story movies, by the way, essentially took over the world, turning consumerism into a way of life and their unchecked influence resulted in environmental collapse, forcing humanity to flee into space. Now, this ties into the rise of technology that we see in the Incredibles. BNL likely benefited from the advanced AI and robotics introduced in that era, but the problem was humanity has become so dependent on automation that they handed over too much control. And it's not hard to really imagine how the Omni Droid from Incredibles paved the way for, by and large's automated systems, right? That eventually led to humanity's downfall. So the axiom, right? And I want to just continue to say Wally is the connector to humanity, because humanity has been gone for a while. So this is like in this 700-year span. This is where the cars were probably happening. This is where everything between the Incredibles and Wally takes place. They're all on the Axiom, which is this massive ship, self-contained, fully automated society where humans aboard basically have become entirely sedentary, relying on technology for everything from mobility to food, and they've lost all connection to Earth, their culture, and even each other. And it's a very chilling like commentary on the consequences of over reliance on technology, but it's a little symbol of hope. And you have again, this episode could be like 3 hours long, but you have the role of Eve and the emotional intelligence of Wally, the role of advanced machines where there's like a signaling of reconciliation between humans and their creations. You have the role that By and Large plays in its connection to other Pixar films. So, like in Cars, the machines in Cars could be remnants of By and Large's technology, right? So, there's a lot of like thematic connections, and it's not just a dystopian cautionary tale. It's a like I said, I'm pretty sure I said this exact thing in the midweek episode, but it's literally a beacon of hope for humanity in the Pixar universe. And it shows us that when things seem beyond repair, there's always a chance for that redemption, renewal, reconnection. And that could lead into A Bug's Life, right?
Yeah. I have been doing a little bit of research and I'm starting to put my hat on. As I've been piecing this together, right, here's what I'm gathering thus far. After the movie Wall-E ended, during the credits, we see a shoe that contains the last of plant life and it grows a tree, right? And the ending of Wall-E kind of summarized, oh, woo, we saved the human race. Let's start a new beginning on Earth. So this is the rebirth, basically. So we're tying, humans back on Earth again. So this is far after Cars has been done. This is right after Wall-E. So the Earth is getting life again. Boom. Bug's Life. In Bug's Life, it's really weird because it's alluding that these ants have kind of been rebuilding for quite a while. Because one ant in the movie, he actually specifically states that he feels 90 again, which could be in ant years, sure. But it also could be alluding that they've been around for 90 fucking years, which is crazy. But at this point, we're so far in the distant future. We've seen the rise of sentient animals. We've seen the downfall of technology. Shit's wild in the Pixar universe at this point in time.
Mm,
S-
yeah.
And we see humans in A Bug's Life. So yeah, humans are back on Earth at this point. Even though we don't see that many humans, we do still see a few quick snippets of humans.
But doesn't that make sense that we don't see a lot of humans?
Yeah,
Because
because
they're
they're rebuilding.
repopulating.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's starting to click for me. It's starting to click for me now.
There we go. And just think, we're only scratching the surface, right? We're only talking about like 6 movies. There's
Mm-hmm.
28 movies that we could talk about
Yeah,
that all fit in the timeline.
very that. And so that kind of ties into the fact that animals are evolving, bugs are evolving. So that's when we kind of get a little bit into the Monsters Inc. universe. And we're like, okay, the magic is still around because obviously we still have the sentient animals and all that stuff. And we see the humans rebuilding Earth in Bug's Life. And there are still humans in Monsters Inc. as well. So that's crazy.
That's right. And isn't it weird? Like, some of the monsters look human, some of the monsters look very just monster esque, and then you have full on humans. Like,
Yeah.
there's a scene where, well, obviously, we have Boo, which is just a human girl, but we also have, like, actual people, like when, let me see. I'm going a little off script. Mike and Sully and Randall are having that fight at the end. Sorry if that's a spoiler. It's been 20 years. Get with it. Uh, but they're having the fight and they're going in and out and they like see multiple different humans of multiple different races. So it implies that the human race has now like kind of started getting along with these beings, or it seems in the monster universe they're very scared originally of humans. So even if Monsters Inc. isn't Earth, they know of humans and humans know of them, right? So you're talking about not only just a potentially Earth Pixar theory timeline, but a multi-planetary, multi-dimensional, multi-timeline flowing theory of Pixar that makes sense because they have shown us that they can travel to these places.
Yeah. No, it's starting to click now. It's all starting to come together. And it's all linked to a certain person as well,
Yeah.
which you could go on to get into if you'd like.
Let's do it. You said that there was one person, right, connecting things, and this
Mhm.
is going to make more sense about the witch once I go through it. And it sounds like you're starting to piece things together as well, which
Yes.
it's this is going to really click for you. So Boo, the little girl, sweet little innocent girl that was essentially kidnapped. Well, I guess she wasn't kidnapped, but she did come through the door and they kept her. So they didn't return her immediately.
Yeah.
So, you know, they could have, it could be kidnapping. But they never got over Sully, right? She became obsessed with finding out what happened to him, and she remembered that the doors are the key to finding Sully. So later on in life, she figured out how to time travel using wooden doors. And it goes back to the source of all the magic, the will of the wisps, and creates magic to find Sully by using wood. So Boo leaves evidence behind in Brave with 2 carvings whittled out of wood, and they were Sully and a pizza truck. Weird. Very weird. Right? Obviously, Brave, they don't know anything about trucks. So they're the 2 things that she loves most in life, right? Although she knows nothing about how to travel through time, or she knows how to travel through time, but she doesn't know how to determine the time period she's going to go, which is why there's speculation that Boo is planting the Easter eggs throughout the Pixar movies because she's been accidentally going through other different time periods and locations. So Boo discovered that wood was the source of energy all along, and in Monsters Inc., they use doors made of wood because it has the energy to travel in time. So the wood from Bug's Life is the source of Flick's ingenuity. That tree in A Bug's Life bears a resemblance to the one in Up that Carl and Ellie often visited, which boom, right? That tree was the source of Carl's wild idea of balloons transporting his house. So, why did the witch turn Queen Eleanor into a bear in Brave, right? This was Boo's failed attempt at bringing Sully back, which is why the bear somewhat resembles Sully. How about them apples?
I'm starting to get it now. Like, I get why people believe this, and I can potentially believe this as well.
So, yeah, I mean, we're talking, right? It could be a stretch, but think about this, right? You have a good dinosaur. You start at prehistoric Earth where an asteroid misses. Then you have Brave, which is medieval Scotland. You have the magic introduced through the witch. And, may also be Boo, which is connecting Monsters Inc. So whether she started there or started in the Monsters Inc. era, she is there. So we know at some point she saw Sully. So if that means she's from the future, that makes sense. Or if she's from the past and she's figuring out the future, there's a lot of ways that you could go. But it's medieval times Scotland. Then you have Finding Nemo and Ratatouille, which is a little present day, or slightly in the past. You have The Incredibles, which is, I believe in the movies, it just says 50s, 60s, which is retro futuristic. Uh, then you have Cars being the machines that take over. You have Wall-E, which is the far future. You have Monsters Inc., which is the distant future. Then you have Soul, which exists outside of the timeline and explores the creation of souls and their journey to Earth. But that's like the unified theory, right? And then between Brave and Finding Nemo, you have Luca, which takes place in mid 20th century Italian Riviera. You have, like I said, Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, Ratatouille. You have Up, which is modern day, where we're transitioning into the future, and it's an escapism film where, he just wants to go to the falls and get away from the technology that's trying to destroy his home. You have The Incredibles, which is the rise of technology, even though, so you have to think, we're in 2025 now. Holy cow. We're in 2025 now. The Incredibles, since it takes place on a different Earth, is kind of like our 2025. So it's the 50s, 60s for them or whatever, but for us, it's like the 20s, the 30s. And then you have Coco, which is literally present day Mexico. Inside Out, present day. Then you have Cars, which is post human. Wall-E, which is distant future. Monsters Inc. is super distant future, where humans are less around, but they still exist. Uh, then you have Elemental, which is like, I think it's like a metaphor for like coexistence. I don't know anything about it, but it just keeps going and going and going. And,
So,
like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a crazy wild theory that I can't recall if this has necessarily come up yet or not. But what if the doors, right, in Monsters Inc., you know how Marvel has like the alternate dimension thing going on? What
Oh,
if
yes.
Monsters Inc. was kind of the introduction, with the doors at least, to alternate universes and dimensions and shit? And that would just make this whole even bigger.
No, you're totally right, though. Whoa.
Because, I mean,
Yeah,
those doors can take you fucking anywhere. And if that's the case, then of course Boo could go to all of these fucking timelines and places and all of that shit and fuck around and find out. And as she's traveling to all of these different universes, of course, she's aging, and then she turns into an old woman that knows about magic and wood, and that brings us back to Brave.
But here's the thing, I don't understand why she can't figure it out, because the monsters have figured it out. They have that little, like, pin pad or whatever, where they just type in where they want to go or something,
Well, so
right?
here's the
So,
thing about Boo, right? Especially when she's introduced to that door's technology. She's just a little, like, baby. Has absolutely no idea what's going on. And even when she gets, like, finally back home and Sully leaves forever, I mean, she's still just a little baby. So maybe she just didn't fully grasp what was going on. She's just like, I mean, for fuck's sake, she calls Sully Kitty through the whole movie because she thinks he's a fucking cat. So, I mean, and then as she gets older, she's like, damn, he kind of looked like a bear. And maybe that's where she
mm,
gets the idea of like, okay, well, he kind of looks like a bear. I remember exactly. Fuck, I was too young. I can't remember how, those doors worked, but I gotta figure it out. And then boom, there it
mm,
is.
yeah, and I mean, like you were saying with A Bug's Life, right? It fits perfectly, like post Wall-E, where humans have returned, which is why there's not a lot going on there. And then eventually, whether it's humans evolving into monsters or they're coexisting, or there's some sort of mutation or literally anything, right? The humans have been gone for a while, so that's going to allow things to kind of just brew on Earth. And for 700 years, like, that's not like a long time in the grand scale of like time itself, but you're talking a big timeline. So I don't know, man. It just, to me, it all makes sense. Especially with by and large being in everything.
So actually, so here's what I'm getting from that, right? You're talking about like how the monsters came to be. So if we look all
Yeah.
the way back to Up, there was an uprising between animals and humans. It was beginning, it was kind of showcasing in Up. And like, oh, who do you think won that war? Results to the animal, alludes to the animals winning, thus, boom, cars. Thus, sure, there's probably humans around somewhere, but just not in wherever Cars is residing. Or that could, circle back around to the little alternate universe theory where, whatever. Then we hit Wall-E, we hit Bug's Life, humans are coming back around. But then you mentioned by and large, right? So here's where we kind of we didn't really hit too hard on Monsters University. We kind of just talked about Monsters Inc. But if we take a look at Monsters University, I think it's common in the theory that they think that the animals that have, kind of been known to stick around, fuck around, find out, by and large, actually, unfortunately, had like these animals were exposed by radiation due to by and large.
Mm-hmm.
And these animals evolved into the monsters that we see in Monsters University and Monsters Inc. So that's where the monsters come from. And so, yes, there are humans that are still around, but some of the animals are evolving into these monsters. And in Monsters University specifically, they're taught that the humans were actually toxic and from another dimension. And so that's where the monsters were started to worry about being erased from existence, and they started altering the history of things. And then we get to Monsters Inc., blah blah blah. They realize, oh, actually humans, we shouldn't get rid of humans. We shouldn't, hate humans because humans are actually the way that we need to sustain our life. So that's when we get to like, okay, the monsters and the humans are coexisting now.
Yeah. And I want to get into By and Large, right? Because originally it is like very prominent in Wall-E, which is 2008. Uh but if you think about this, right? You're talking By and Large is a corporate a corporation where it began as a small corporation that grew to dominate global markets and eventually became a sole provider of all goods and services. Sound familiar? And
Oh.
they were responsible for launching Project Cleanup, which created Wall-E units to clean up the earth after the environmental collapse, which their marketing materials claim BNL because time is money and you don't have either. Which is like, that's a crazy thing to say in a kid's movie, so that's weird. And then you have By and Large's history highlights humanity resilience or reliance on technology and convenience, ultimately leading to their decline. And they're placed pre and post environmental collapse. So it's crazy, right? So in the 2010 Toy Story 3, Buzz Lightyear's batteries are branded By and Large. And it's the first on-screen reference to By and Large in the Pixar films, and it establishes B&L as a dominant consumer goods company producing everyday items like batteries. And that's like present day, right? And then you have obviously Wall-E, where they're on all over the logos, the branding, the advertisements, the announcements, the Wall-E units, the Axiom, all of that. But then you have it in Cars 3 in 2017, which why are they, the movie's been out for 9 years already. Wall-E has been. Why are they putting a By and Large logo in the spot, like the Cars movie? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's a racing sponsorship, and a race car is sponsored by and Large. So it shows that there is a time scale, and if anything, at least this company is part of the timeline in some way, shape, or form, or they wouldn't really use it, right? So it suggests that By and Large's influence extends into the world of cars, and it hints that sentient cars may have inherited or adapted By and Large's systems after humanity's disappearance, which is really like crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So
Damn.
there's a lot of weird stuff, but then and I don't know if you've read anything about this, but have you seen anything about A113?
No, I have not.
So A113 is a classroom number at the California Institute of Arts. You got to toss the tinfoil hat on. You might want two of them for this one. Uh, it's a classroom number at the California Institute of Arts, where many Pixar animators, including John Lasseter and Brad Bird, studied graphic design and character animation. Now, hang on with me. A113 has become a signature Easter egg, not just in Pixar films, but also Disney, Marvel, and other media created by Cal Arts alumni. And it's essentially a tribute to their creative roots. Why does this matter though? If it's connecting Disney and Marvel and Pixar, you're talking about a multi universal timeline at this point, where the Pixar Theory context, A113, often appears on technology, infrastructure, key items, just subtly tying the films to a single shared universe where these objects or systems could theoretically influence multiple stories. So in Toy Story 1, 1995, a license plate, which is Andy's mom's minivan, A113. A Bug's Life. There's nothing specifically there, but potentially appears subtly as part of the background architecture, like leaves or debris. Toy Story
Hmm.
2, 1999, license plate on Al's car. Somehow got Andy's mom's minivan's license plate. Don't know how that happened. Monsters Inc. 2001, visible on one of the doors in the scare floor. Finding Nemo 2003, a model number on the underwater camera used by the divers. Incredibles, here we go, 2004, the room number for Mr. Incredible's meeting with Mirage. 2006, Cars. Mater's license plate is A113. That's just
That's
that's just
crazy.
there. Ratatouille. This is crazy. The tag on the rat's ear when Remy and Emile are captured. Wally, 2008. Directive A113 is the command for the axiom to remain in space. Now you're getting into actual plot devices. Okay. Up 2009 on the courtroom number Carl visits. 2010 Toy Story 3. It keeps going. The license plate on Andy's mom's car again. She got the license plate back. Cars 2. 2011. It's a spy plane's tail number. 2012. We're halfway there. Engraved subtly on wooden carvings in the witch's cottage. You have Monsters University in 2013. The lecture hall where Mike and Sully attend their classes. 2015 is Riley's classroom's number in Inside Out. 2015, A Good Dinosaur. This is weird, right? It's 2015. They've been doing this for a long time, right? It's been literally like 20 years that they've been doing this. There's no reference of it. But, and Tab, why do you think that is?
Because they're all connected?
It's because it's a prehistoric setting. There's no writing.
Oh.
There's no writing.
Fair enough.
There's no writing. There's no reason to be. So they're purposely doing it. And they're purposely only doing it when there's some sort of intelligent life. 2016, the tag on Hank the Octopus's tank. 2017, Cars 3 on the car of Sterling's office door. Another 2017, I didn't know Cars 3 and Coco released in the same year. On the door of... This is crazy. How do you even remember this? On a door in the land of the dead. Just a door.
That's crazy.
Incredibles 2, 2018. The room number for the DevTech conference room. 2019. Toy Story 4 on the license plate of a car outside the antique shop, which happens to not be Al's or Andy's mom, at least as far as we know. I don't know who's taking these license plates, but Onward, it's the back of the school bus, 2020. 2020 Soul, Joe's Earth pass to return to his body is A113. Luca, 2021, on a train ticket during the end sequence. Turning Red, 2022, classroom number in May's school. 2022, Lightyear, the number on a ship's, not the ship, a ship's cabin. Someone just saw that. And then in Elemental in 2023, but it is not explicitly confirmed or found yet, but it's probably hidden in signage or background architecture because why would they stop there? So it ties every story to a shared universe.
You want to know something else that does that?
What?
The Pizza Planet truck.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was going to talk about that, but you go ahead.
Yeah. So here's a few theories first before I get into all of the appearances of the Pizza Planet truck. Some believe that the truck is more than just a cute little Easter egg, that it's actually a time traveling or dimension hopping vehicle. And some also speculate a little bit further, who the fuck is driving this truck? Must be Boo. And she's on her quest to find Sully. As we already have reiterated through this whole thing that it all comes back to Boo. So this truck has appeared in almost every single movie. Obviously, first appeared in Toy Story, Hitching a Ride to Pizza Planet. Bug's Life, the truck is seen parked next to a trailer where the circus bugs encounter a mosquito bar. Toy Story 2, the truck appears at the Dynaco gas station. Monsters Inc., Randall is banished to a trailer in the human world and the truck is parked right outside. Finding
Mm.
Nemo, the truck is briefly visible in Sydney during a scene near the harbor. Incredibles, the truck can be seen on the street where Frozone and Mr. Incredible search for Syndrome's location. In Cars, the truck is reimagined as a sentient vehicle named Todd, and it's in the stands cheering at the Piston Cup race. Ratatouille is seen crossing a bridge in Paris when Skinner chases Remy through the streets.
Oh
In
man.
Wall-E, there's a rusted version in the trash pile. In Up, the truck is visible in a parking lot when Carl's house takes off. In Toy Story 3, it's seen in a flashback sequence as the toys recall being taken to Sunnyside Daycare. Cars 2, it's a reappearance of Todd, the truck, and he's a spectator at the World Grand Prix race. In Brave, the truck is one of the wooden carvings, as we've already mentioned. In Monsters University, it's outside the Roar Omega Roar fraternity house during a party scene. In Inside Out, it's in one of Riley's memory orbs. And a little fun fact about that, actually. In one of Riley's memories, she actually goes to the dentist that was in Finding Nemo.
Whoa.
So this is where it gets crazy, right? So you said the A113 doesn't appear in The Good Dinosaur, but
Yeah, I didn't see that.
the truck does.
What? Shut up.
Yeah, so the truck is not immediately obvious, but it can actually be seen as a rock formation resembling its shape. That might be a reach. I don't have the pictures in front of me, but apparently it did appear in A Good Dinosaur.
No way. Let me
Yeah.
look.
In Finding Dory, it's seen in the background of a scene at the Marine Life Institute. Cars 3, Todd appears again as a spectator at the Thunder Hollow Demolition Derby. In Coco, the truck appears in the streets of Santa Cecilia during a crowd scene. Incredibles 2, interestingly enough, Incredibles 2 breaks the tradition. The truck isn't actually in this movie at all.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Some people speculate that that was like on purpose to show, like, okay, either one, maybe this one isn't connected, or two, it's a completely alternate timeline. I'm almost done. Toy Story 4, it's spotted at the carnival in the background of several scenes. It's even in Onward, it's parked outside the Manticore's Tavern. It's in Soul. The truck is briefly visible during one of Joe's flashbacks in the U seminar. It's seen in Luca during a town scene. It's seen in Turning Red in one of the parking lots during the city scenes set in Toronto. And it's also seen in Lightyear in a futuristic twist, and it's parked at the Star Command base. So this truck has been in every movie as well. And so has the
Wow.
ball, but we're getting a little short on time.
Yeah, we won't get super into the ball, but the ball is there as well. It's called the Luxo Ball, I believe. But yeah, no, the Pizza Planet truck is there, the Luxo Ball, John Ratzenberger, A113, they all connect. And just going through a couple other movies where A113 is in case anyone wanted to know, and then we'll wrap up. and I won't say the years this time. I even got annoyed with myself, so hopefully you didn't leave. But uh, Princess and the Frog, straight address on a trolley car. Tangled, it was painted on a corner beam in Rapunzel's tower. Wreck-It Ralph was code written on a door in the security hub. Frozen, it was Arendelle's castle's courtroom number. Oh my god, get a life. Big Hero 6. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's crazy that they found that though.
Yeah. Big Hero 6 on a sign in the police station. Zootopia, Officer Judy Hopps' badge number is crazy. It's just out there. That's bonkers. It's just her badge number. Moana, marking on a turtle shell in a flashback scene. Ralph Breaks the Internet is it's on the server room door in the BuzzTube building. Frozen 2, it's a room number in the archives. Strange World, it's coordinates on a map. And then, holy cow, Iron Giant from 1999, it's a license plate on a car driven by Dean. It's in
Jeez.
Lilo and Stitch, it's a license plate on the fire truck. It's in The Simpsons movie in 2007. A truck is labeled A113, delivering the giant dome. You have, and this is crazy, 1987's Hyperion, the Brave Little Toaster, A113 on a door in the workshop.
I love that movie.
I've never seen it. I need
I
to
used to
watch
be
it.
obsessed.
Two more. Avengers Endgame. During a time travel sequence, coordinates briefly show A113. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a classroom is labeled A113. Now, there are, wrapping everything up in a nice little bow. Does the Pizza Planet truck and A113, does that break the timelines? Does it, is there a reason that this would not be good for essentially the whole Pixar theory? And I don't think so. I don't think it matters because here's my thing, right? I think there's multiple different types of Easter eggs in these movies. You have symbolic representation where the truck isn't physically present in the Good Dinosaurs world, but it is by showing it as a constellation, Pixar keeps the Easter egg tradition alive without disrupting the prehistoric setting. And, Easter egg logic, you're talking Pixar Easter eggs like Pizza Planet, A113, the Luxo Ball, they're meant to provide continuity and fun connections between films, but they're not always literal, especially in worlds where their presence would be, just no, it wouldn't make sense kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up.
I'll be real. I think I'm wearing my hat with you on this one. Nearing the end of this, I think I've been thoroughly convinced.
I think it is quite possible that all of them are not only connected, but the A113, it is one of those things that it's a reach, and it could just be the producers and the designers and whatnot keeping a Easter egg alive, which that's cool, but it could also be connecting them, and you can't discount that, because what
Yeah.
if 20, 30 years down the line they say, hey, we're actually making a Pixar movie that includes every Marvel character, every Disney character, and every Pixar character, and it's going to be timeline based. Then what? Your whole entire perception of reality is going to go
Mm-hmm.
kaput because they have just announced that they are connecting every single universe that we grew up with. Like, never
That
know,
would
man.
be crazy.
I'm going on record to say this, and I've been saying this since about 2010. I think eventually there will be a Pixar movie where multiple Pixar characters are together, and it's going to be like Pixar's own Avengers. or at least they're going to actively create a movie where they are connecting the timeline somehow.
I feel like that'd be really cool.
I think it would be genuinely like if Pixar ever gets into a bad spot, I think that's what they're going to release or should release.
Agreed. Very
Because
much
returning
agreed.
to those places, it's not going to ruin anything. As long as it makes sense in the timeline, I think it would just go crazy. Anyways, that's the Pixar theory on a surface level. There's, like I said, Super Carlin Brothers made a video on it. Really good. It's really in depth. And there's so much information there, and we barely scratched the surface, and we didn't even talk about every movie. We didn't even talk about half the movies. Also, Cars 2 is the worst rated Pixar movie. Monsters University is Tab's least favorite movie. And
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else. I think I'm glad that you've been converted to a believer, and let us know what you think of the Pixar theory. Do you think it's a bunch of hocus pocus, or do you think that there's some meat behind it? Because I sure do.
Yeah, and you can either comment that down below, wherever you're watching, or you can find all of our socials in the description on wherever you're listening.
And let us take it on out. Thank you for joining us on this extremely wild ride and being here for Tab's conversion of believing in the Pixar theory. So don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube, go follow us on the socials, and we're going to dive into another thing next Wednesday. But
Yeah.
first, Patreon. We are starting to release a lot more stuff on Patreon. We're getting into the flow of things, and we are going to read a probably just one comment this time because we have simply been recording a little too long. But if you want to see all of our buts, silly conversations, go on over to the Patreon. And Tab, I'm gonna let you pick the question for the day.
All right. This was asked by Zaid slash Agrode. Is Midnight Oil planning on or already have any merchandise? If so, where is it available, and would you be planning on making it to retail stores?
Oh man, retail stores. Thanks, Zaid. I'm flattered. Do you want to go first? Because I have information, but
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have any information. I know that we're planning on it. I, as of this very moment that I'm saying this very second, I don't believe we have any yet, but we are in the process of getting some, especially for the convention that we're going to be going to. In regards to retail stores, that's a very loaded question that I have not even been thinking about yet. It would be cool, sure, but I doubt that's gonna be anytime soon.
yeah, I mean, the only retail stores that they might be is Goodwill after people send them somewhere else and not want them.
Yeah.
No, but so Indie PopCon, we are planning on releasing a limited number of redacted, and we will be there in flesh and blood and all that makes us human. So if you are in the Indie PopCon area in June, while that convention is happening, we will have merchandise that you will be able to purchase that is going to be extremely limited run. I don't know how many quite yet, but it's going to be definitely under 100. So if you want that and you want to be super mega OG, I'll probably set something up where you can like pay online as well, but it will not be open until then. And once they're gone, they're gone. Tab is gonna get one. I'm gonna get one. We might each take two or three, and then the rest is out to the public. So you don't know what it's gonna be yet, And that's totally not because I don't know what it's going to be yet. It's because I'm making the decision not to say anything. And that's your answer. But retail stores, that's hard. Even like if we had a bunch of money, they would be hard.
Yeah.
We would need an established audience, money, and a dream. But it would be
Yeah.
cool. I don't think either of us have a goal to get it in retail stores though. I don't think that's a goal that we have. I think
Mm-mm.
maybe have our own online store, maybe, but I don't have a want to like toss it in Walmart or anything
Yeah,
and
no.
give them money. I don't care for that. So
Maybe we'll open our own store.
yeah, it'll probably be some online store,
No, we'll have
but
a pop-up
I don't know.
store.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll like go out on the street with like a vendor's license outside of like a random bar in Germany or something.
Yeah,
It'll be
very cool.
Anyway, thank you for joining. Shout out to Zaid, Cameron, Tab for being a free member,
Hey.
Dakota, and Tab's mother. Is that it?
Yeah,
That's what we got?
facts. That's what we got.
Cool. All right. We will see you guys on Wednesday.
Good night.
Nighties.